Let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.
Presented by Scott Credit Union. Yours.
BlueNote Fan Report. Aloha and mahalo. Welcome to the show that's by a fan, for a fan, and about you, the fan. Are you excited? I am excited. Hockey is here. Opening night was yesterday. They had two really exciting games. Oh, man, Vegas surprised me. And you know, I talk about the neutral zone all the time. If you watched that game last night, the end of it absolutely talks about how important, shows you how important that neutral zone is. Absolutely, I mean, dead on, showing how important the neutral zone is. The Kings, late in the game, tied up, tie game. Like less than 20, I think it was 20 seconds left or something like that. And they try and make a stretch pass all the way from their zone, back by the goal line, up to the offensive blue line. Vegas intercepts it, and he takes it right on in there and dumps it in, right? I've hit the Brian Buckholz is one of those naysayers that doesn't think that the Blues are going to be bad. Well, you know what? Listen to the show tonight, Brian, because we're going to talk about each player. This is a better team than I think the experts are wrong. I really do. I think that they've missed something, right? And there's something really important about a tight team, right? And this is a tight team. I mean, it's a really tight team. This is the type of team that you hope for, okay? You know, the changes, almost nothing. And I know everyone is on Perron. You know, we lost Perron. I don't think the Perron hurts us as much as everybody does. Everybody thinks it does. I just don't. I think that the Blues have made some very smart decisions. And I saw something today. There was an article out, you know, from a blog or, you know, a website like mine was, and they talked about Wayne Simmons coming to the Blues, right? Being traded to the Blues. The Canadians have released him and waived him, and they're looking to trade him. I mean, you could get him for future considerations. I don't know what Wayne Simmons. I'd have to look him up. I don't know what his cap hit is, right? But, you know, if the cap hit was right, why not? You know, it's just, he could have one of them cap hits that works in your favor. I'm going to try and look it up real quick. I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is. I haven't seen it. I'm going to pull up free agent, see if he comes up.
While he's doing that, hi, everybody.
Oh, hey, it's Ashley. I didn't hear you come in, Ash. Sorry.
You're fine.
Oh, they don't have him as, he's not a free agent because I don't know. Well, he's waived. So I got to try and find him. I don't know what his cap hit is. I'm talking about Wayne Simmons.
Okay.
Right? There was an article today talking about Wayne Simmons and the possibility of him coming to the Blues, right? Being traded for. And I mean, I don't know if I'm 100% on that. Yeah, to me, it would all depend what his cap hit is.
Hold on, I think I got it.
You got it?
It's 900,000.
Okay, so he's got a pretty low cap hit. I could see that. I could see that. I mean, again, it's something that if you thought you needed more, well, he's a physical guy. Okay. He's one of those physical guys. If you wanted a physical guy in that fourth line, he's a Pat Simmons type, or not Pat Simmons, Pat Maroon type.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's a Pat Maroon type. Neighbors will be in the lineup for Saturday. It looks like it. Actually, absolutely looks like it. I'm kind of waiting to see if Lance pops in because I thought he was going to show up tonight. But we're going to basically, what I said we were going to do is we're just going to go down the players and what our expectations are for them this year. Right?
Okay, sounds like fun.
Do it. We'll do it in number order and go from there. He's injured.
Mm-hmm.
He's injured. I don't think that he's going to be out till like January, I think.
I thought it was like a 6-month thing for him.
Yeah, I think he had his surgery back in the summer, so
yeah,
I think they had him predicted for January. Right? There is, and I seen it here earlier. Brian Buckhold, or no, here it is. Ryan Green says he's worried about defense. We've lost 2 already, and if one of our top 4 is hurt, going to be that much more difficult. I don't think our defense is that big of a deal.
Honestly, we didn't really have Perunovic last season either. And Scandella, everyone complains about him. I mean, we're going to see how much of an impact that he's really made on the team.
Absolutely agree there. Absolutely agree. Well, we'll kind of get back in. We'll get, we'll see what if Lance shows up or that. But we'll start with the player evaluations, just what we think. Player number 1, wearing number 1, Thomas Greiss. Where are you at on Mr. Greiss?
I mean, I think that he will be a very decent backup. I think he's actually an upgrade from Husso. If Bennington continues to play the way he has played, during the preseason and what we saw towards the end of the playoffs before he got injured, I think that this is going to be a really awesome duo.
I'm with you on that. I do. I think that Greiss is an upgrade from Husso. I think that Husso got figured out, and they figured him out. The Minnesota Wild figured him out after that first game. And,
yes, they did.
He had this in 2021, he had this really bad habit of giving up early goals on like the first or second or third shot. Within the first 5 shots, he would give up a goal. Well, that puts your team behind in the first couple of minutes of the game, and it changes how you play the game. It can change how you play the game. And he did that in the playoffs. Well, that right there kind of made me take a step back. Mm-hmm. Right? By the way, Kemper's given up 3 goals already for Washington. Yeah. So for me, I think that Greiss, who has that experience, and when he played for the Islanders in a good backup role, I mean, he won the Jennings Trophy for the lowest goals GAA. Mm-hmm. Right? He has that, and then we'll get to Bennington later, but you're absolutely right. I think Bennington, we'll get to him later, but I think Bennington's going to have a great season too. Mm-hmm. So we'll move on to the next one. Number 4, Nick Leddy.
Hey, John, I think that Leddy is going to really show us what he's got. I was impressed with him with the short sample size that we had. So I'm excited to see what he brings to that D-line. I think he could be a great pairing with Parayko. I mean, I'm just hoping to see some solid exits from our zone because of him.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on this. I think Leddy, we saw Falk and Krug struggle to understand this system. Take a full year to really understand the system. But we saw Leddy get the system within 10, 15 games.
Exactly.
Like he quickly understood his role, and he was really, I think he was injured for 1 or 2 games, and he was missed when he was injured in the playoffs. So he really showed what he could do out there. And I think that Leddy is going to have some good defensive. I don't know what his offensive numbers will be.
I don't think he's ever been good at offensive numbers, but his defensive numbers are phenomenal as long as, he's got a good team around him.
Yeah, no, I think that Letty is really going to show us something. And I wasn't happy with this trade originally, but it has worked out. I had said, when this trade happened, my concern, it wasn't Letty himself, it's what we gave up. We've got a decent, at the time we had
you
a pretty
also
decent,
didn't see us signing Letty. You thought that he was a rental.
Yeah, I did think he was a rental. I didn't think he'd stay. Right? But we also, the penalty kill at that time was like 7th or 8th in the league. It was down. It was in the top 10, but it wasn't, and it ended up in the top 5.
Mm-hmm. Actually, wasn't it top 3? I thought we cracked the top 3.
Nope. 2nd in power play and 5th in penalty kill.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, it was an amazing penalty kill last year, and I think, and this season they gave up 2 power play goals. I think they were 23 for 25.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's it. 2 power play goals, first, and they didn't give up one since then. So, I mean, yes, I know competition, preseason, I get that, but it shows how they work, and it also shows even that bad game against Columbus. They didn't give anything up. Right? So they showed that they can play this type of defense or that type of penalty kill. And Letty is a penalty killer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, we'll move on to number 10. This is an interesting one. Braden Shin.
I'm just hoping that he refrains from being injured this year, because he shouldn't have had to have played through 2 broken ribs, and I think it was his sternum. He injured his sternum. He shouldn't have to play through that. He needs to understand how to, play in his age. I think that he's trying to play a rough physical game like he did in his, early 20s, and he's not that young anymore.
Yeah, he's 31.
Mm-hmm.
I get that. For me with Shin, first of all, when you read about him having the 2 broken ribs twice, twice he had broken ribs last season, and bruised ribs and all that stuff, and then he turns around and scores 24 goals. Mm-hmm. If he's healthy, he could hit 30.
Oh my gosh, Piran who if he's healthy?
Yeah, and he's physical. But maybe he doesn't need to be that physical, and that's something that to watch out for and see what happens. Mm-hmm. But right now, I think Shin could have a really interesting year. I think he could have a very interesting year.
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to number 13. Lucky number 13. The Torpedo, Alexei Torpachenko.
I haven't seen when he's going to come back yet.
They're waiting for basically they're just waiting. Berube said today that if he gets the okay, he'll be on the roster. So we'll see on that. I like the Torpedo.
I love
I also
him.
like the fact that this guy, who was supposed to be out till December or January, is already back. And I know it's shoulder surgery, and we know you got to be careful with that. You don't want him to come back too early. But, young kid, he's healed. He's done the things that he needs to do. And I'm more than happy and satisfied with what he's doing this season. He could have a very interesting season this year. Hey, Lance, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. Are you guys?
Hey, not too bad. Well, we already started on this. We just talked about Alexei Torpachenko. What kind of year do you think he's going to have there, boss?
It depends on how he comes back from his injury, and how quickly he can get back into game shape and get into a rhythm with the team. I don't expect him to fall back. That's for sure. I think he can be better than he was. He's one of those guys that's got a lot of energy. I think that he just needs to work on a few things and be able to rein some of that energy in and kind of pace himself, because, there's very few people that can go 100% all the time in the NHL. And if you notice, a lot of times these players that play till they're 38, 40 years old, You watch them when they were 20, 23, 25, and they're just all over the ice all the time. And you watch some of them when they're 35, they're still all over the ice, but they pick the times when they know how they need to really, put out that energy to make a play or to stop a play. And every player's got to learn it, and I think he will.
Yeah. Matt Lowe put this in. No, I didn't see it, Matt Lowe. I apologize. He says, I asked yesterday, but you didn't see it. Did you see where they pranked him with the exploding golf ball? I meant to talk about it yesterday. Apparently, none of our Russians play golf, right? So when they did the tournament, they did twosomes, but they did best ball twosomes. But with the Russians, they had all four of them together.
Oh, my
They
goodness.
bought like $1,800 golf clubs, and whoever had the lowest score won the golf clubs. Well, it turns out Torpachenko won the golf clubs. Right? And when I seen the video where he hit the golf ball, it was pretty interesting. It was on TikTok, right? It was on TikTok. It was pretty neat. He's fit into this locker room very quickly. Mm-hmm. All right, very, very quickly, and I was impressed with how he fit into the locker room and how he's moved things forward and done the things that he's doing. Very happy with him. Very happy. Okay, let's move on to number 17. We're doing it by number, by the way, in numerical order.
Actually,
Number
can we
17.
recap a little bit?
Say
I want to
again?
hear Lance's opinion on Letty and Shin.
Okay. Well, we'll go back then. You know what, Lance? We'll let you cover the ones that we already did. We'll start with number 1, Thomas Greiss.
I think he's going to be just fine. A lot of people losing their minds, especially after that 7-0 loss to Columbus. But like I've said before, I don't judge guys by their preseason play, and I don't judge teams by their preseason play. The preseason is there to get in shape. It's to get guys melding together. It's to get veterans used to the system. It's to get the young guys used to the system. And I think he's going to be just fine. I don't have any problems with him. Is he going to be the best backup goalie in the league? No, but the Blues don't need that really, because with their defense, they need a guy that's good and steady and a guy that knows the game and has played the game. And, he may give up a soft goal, but we saw it, throughout Husso's career here, especially in the playoffs and at times last year. He wasn't this way for the most year, but at times he let in that soft goal like Jake Allen used to, and we just hit our heads and didn't understand it. Thomas Greiss is going to be just fine.
Yeah, I'm with you. Number 4, Nick Leddy.
Nick Leddy is going to be even better than he was last year because, we all saw, everybody hated Justin Falk when he came over. Oh, we need Pietrangelo back. I said, guys, give him a year or so into the system, and it'll take some time, and he'll be just fine. And look at him now. He's our best defenseman. And they said the same thing about Krug. And what people don't understand is Leddy didn't have as much of a learning curve coming into this system because he played in basically the same defensive scheme system in Chicago. So that's why he picked it up so quickly. I think he's going to be even better than he was last year.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Number 10, broken ribs, Braden Shin.
I would like to see Shin focus less on fighting. I like the fact that he does it, and sticks up for his team and gets in there and mucks it up. But he's getting older. He's not 24, 25 anymore. And he needs to learn when to do that, when not to do that, because his body can't take it as much. And he's going to start falling apart if he continues to play that way. I'd like to see him get more focused on his offensive part of the game, but I think he'll be fine. I don't think we're going to see him go downhill. I think he'll be the same player he's been with the Blues.
I just want to say that sounds exactly like what I said.
Yeah. Yeah, Lance is just repeating what we said. We're all in agreement so far. No one's disagreed yet. Okay, let's get to number 17. We signed him as a free agent. He ended up making the team. Josh Levo. We'll start with Ashley on this one since Lance just went for the last 3.
Yeah, fine.
I mean, I like what I saw from him in camp, but I really don't feel like I've seen enough to be able to say either way.
Lance?
He's a guy that's going to give you some veteran presence. He's a guy that's, and I hate to use this cliche because I don't think we need more leaders in the locker room, but I think he's good in the locker room. He was with the Kings. I think he's a solid guy. Is he a great NHL player? No. But he's a very solid guy that's going to give you some minutes. He's going to be a little physical, and he can score. You know, he's not a great goal scorer, but he's a Blues type of player. And I think you both agree with that. He's that type of player that Berube loves, that can play it both ways. And I think he's going to fit in just perfect.
You know, I see him playing when we play the speedier teams.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Because he's physical. He's a stay-at-home guy. You know, has a fourth line. He's on that forecheck. He can get. You know, he's basically. And I can't think of his name now. Oh man, used to be on the Blues. Was a broadcaster for the Blackhawks. Now he's back with the Blues. Wrote a kid's book. I did an interview with him, and I can't think of his name. But he's that type of player, right? Can get back, get the puck out of the zone, and when you have fast players, he's one of those guys that can you know, be knocking them off the puck.
Yeah,
so that's what I think of Mr. Levo.
Yep.
Okay, first of our I guess you could say first of our real big guys here, number 18, Mr. Robert Thomas. Start with Ashley.
Oh, I just see him going from what he had last season and growing on it. He has a lot of skills in his toolbox that I just don't even think that we've seen at all.
Yeah, Lance?
One thing I love about him, he learned really quickly. If you noticed in his first couple of years, he would skate around too much with the puck and try to make too much of a play. He has calmed down a little bit. He's more confident in what he does. He still skates and makes plays, and you know, he leaves players jock straps on the ice. You know, I'm sorry, Ashley, but you know, he knows when to do it and when not to do it. He's fancy when he needs to be and not when he doesn't need to be, like he was when he first came up. He felt like he had to continually move constantly. He still does that, but I'm with Ashley. Robert Thomas is only going to get better, you know, unless there's an injury, and I hate to say that. This guy is only going to get better, and I expect some big things from him. I think he's going to have a better season than he had last year.
I'm with you. I think Robert Thomas is him and Kairu are the future. We know that.
Yep.
And you know, the way Doug Armstrong did this, he's got that set up, and what happens next year and the year after, I don't know, but we know where their core is going to be. Mm-hmm. Thomas, for me, what I like about Thomas's game is he's picked up things from other games, right? Other players. He's picked up a little bit of Tereshchenko's physicality in the corner. He's picked up some of Tereshchenko's blind passing, right? He didn't do that originally. Now he's starting to do that. He's starting to get some of that sweet passing in there, and he seems to morph with his line mates. And I think with Bushnev, you know, with the two Russians, I really think that line is going to gel and be one of the best lines in the league. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people around the league don't see it, and there's some Blues fans that are upset they signed him to that much of a contract, and I don't get it. The way the league is going now, these guys that are about to come up on their first offer, the teams are paying them, and they're paying them quickly, because I think, like you, Guy, and like Ashley, we all know that if this revenue goes up and we don't have any more COVID issues, that salary cap is going to go up in the next 2 to 3 years, and it's going to go up a lot. And that $8 million contract is going to look pretty sweet in 2 to 3 years. And here's a story I tell people. If you don't think he's a good player, just go back a little bit when the Blues played Pittsburgh. Sidney Crosby went up and asked for his autograph and a stick. And I can tell you, Crosby does not do that all the time with players.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think that he is going to be one of those guys, and I'm just dead on you. Okay, let's move on. Number 20. Number 20 is probably the first player that we're going to get to there's going to be a question mark over. Wendy brought this up, that this guy seems to have, or Wendy felt he had a good year followed by a bad year. He had a good year last year. Number 20, Braden Shin. Who'd I start? We'll go with Lance.
I don't know.
Trying to bounce it back and forth.
Yeah, that's all right. Braden Shin has kind of been an up and down player. I do agree with Wendy, but I think his play, you know, he fit in with the Rangers pretty well. And, you know, but I think not the Rangers, sorry. I think
Avalanche?
his play, yeah, the Avalanche, I meant. I pictured Colorado in my mind and then thought of the Rangers. I was thinking of Sammy Blais for some reason. I think he's just going to be better because if you see a lot of these guys in the Blues system, good players pick it up pretty quickly, and he picks it up pretty quickly. He's that type of a two-way guy, but he's more offensive than he is defensive, but he's not lacking in defensive skill. And if he has the same year as last year, I'm not going to be disappointed, but I hate to keep saying the same thing over and over again, but it's become a pattern here. I see him being better than he was last year.
Yeah. So for me, Ashley, your turn.
Of course. So Saad, I felt had a good year in Colorado, and then he came here and had another good year. So that kind of throws Wynn's whole thing out. I feel like he is one of those types of players that you can put him anywhere in your lineup. It doesn't matter if you have him on your top line, your fourth line, your second line, your third. He's going to play and he's going to perform well, be it if he's defensive, offensive. So I just see him having a better year. I'm with Lance.
Yeah, I see him. I said the same thing. I went back and looked at his numbers, and actually there was a couple of times he did that, but there was a period where he was just bam, 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 with Chicago and with he was just bam, bam, bam. So I like Saad. The only concern I have with Saad is his line mates. I don't think he fits as good on that line as everybody thinks he does. He could. But I think it's going to take a little bit to get that. He's on a line with Kairu and O'Reilly, and it seems like you have three completely different guys on that line, right? You have
but you know, guy, the thing about it is O'Reilly can make players play well together by the way he leads on the ice, and you know, I do see what you're saying there. And that is a little bit of a concern with me. But since he is a veteran and he played here last year, I think he's going to be able to get over that hump a little bit. But I do agree with you. Out of all of our lines, that's the one I think that may have a small issue gelling.
Yeah, that's just what I see on that. Okay, We'll move on. Ashley, I think this is one of your favorite players on the roster now. I think I might be wrong, but number 22. The son, Logan Brown.
Actually, you were wrong. Saad was one of my favorites. Yeah. But Brown, I just think that he has a lot that he can offer the team. I just want to see him be consistent with it because he had glimmers of excellence, and then he just kind of disappeared for a while.
Yeah, Lance?
I talked to some people that were that are in the Blues, and they said that night and day from last year to this year that Brown looked in camp. It was like he was a totally different player. He at times they said last year, and this happens sometimes with big guys, tall guys, lanky guys, they don't look like they're giving their full effort because they're so big. Everybody used to tell me, "Oh, Chris Pronger's slow." Well, I'm going to tell you, Chris Pronger was not slow. You know, he's a big, tall guy, 6'5", 6'6", and from what everybody's telling me, that they're expecting a big year from him, and I really do hope so. And I want to see that from him. I was really on to him last year because at times it didn't look like his head was in the game, but from what everybody's telling me, and these people normally don't shoot crap in my face, but they're normally pretty consistent. I'm expecting a much better year from him than last year.
So during the summer, I reached out to Jeff Brown to try and get him and Logan on the show.
Yep.
He told me that Logan this year decided to go out to Arizona and work out with Clayton Keller.
Yep.
Well, you know who they also worked out with? Austin Matthews.
Yep. Yeah, Matthews goes out there every year.
Has work ethic.
Yep.
I think that he instilled that into them. And there's a thing on Netflix about the Redeem team, the team that won the basketball team that went back in the Olympics.
Yep.
And they talked about how when Kobe got brought onto the team, you know, the whole team goes out one night. They're coming back at 4:30 in the morning after being out. As they're coming into the hotel, they're watching Kobe coming down, going to the gym, working out, and that changed everybody's attitude.
Yeah.
I think that that's what happened with Brown. And my big question with Brown right now is this injury. How much is it going to hamper him? How far is it going to take for him to move on? So that's my concern with Brown.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, Ottawa, a lot of people inside Ottawa, that was a struggle when Ottawa traded him, because there was a couple of people in their front office that did not want to give up on him, but they were kind of outvoted and they had nothing but good things to say about him. And it's like you said, he's got to put that work in. He's got the natural talent. People don't understand what that's like to have that. But if you've got natural talent, all you got to do is continue to work hard and you're going to do better. But like you guys, I'm hoping and I'm expecting some bigger things from him.
All right, Aaron Colton. Yeah, he did have an excellent preseason, and I agree.
Yep.
Okay, Lance, are you ready for the next one?
Yep.
This is a big one. Number 25, Jordan Kairu.
I can't say enough about this kid. And, I hate to call him a kid, but to me, he is a kid. He's gotten better. And I know, Guy, you felt like he got a little bit of a big head after the All-Star game. And I don't know if that was as much of a big head or is it much of just like when you go to the All-Star game, and I've talked to some players, it's so exciting and you're focused on being around the other players and you're in the skills competition that when you come back to your team, it's some players it takes a little bit to get back into that rhythm. And I think that's part of what it was. Maybe he did get a big head, but I don't think it's going to be too big with the way his coach is and the way the players are in that team. I don't think they're going to let him get too big of a head. And I just see him getting better and better. We saw it every year. Some young players, they struggle. They look good for 1 year. They struggle the next. They struggle for half a season. I think he's going to be one of those guys like Thomas that continues just to get better.
All right. I'm okay. Ashley?
I mean, I want to be that optimistic about Kairu because if he could have stayed consistent throughout the year, his numbers would have been phenomenal. He would have been our top scorer. But his little slumps that he would go through just make it harder. And I want to see him be more consistent.
Well, I agree with you, Ashley, but one thing I'll tell you, a lot of scorers, we even look at Vladimir Tarasenko, a lot of scorers, unless you're Wayne Gretzky or Lemieux, guys like that, you're streaky. You'll have 5, 6, 7 games where you score 4, 5, 6 goals. Then you won't score a goal for 4 games. Then you might score 2 goals in 1 game. I think he's that type of player. And some players that are like that, if they work hard enough and they continue to learn, which I hope he's doing, you'll see less and less of that and he'll become more consistent. But you are right. There were times last year where, and I didn't expect this from him, but there were times where I'd go, did Kairu play in the game? And you really don't want that out of your young players.
Yeah,
no. And then the other thing is,
go ahead, Ash. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were going to talk.
Sorry. He seems to get knocked down a lot. He needs to be stronger in his core.
Yeah, and I think that's why he gained about 10, 15 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They got him listed here at 6'0", 175. I think 6 foot. I'd like to see you closer to about 190.
Yeah, I thought somebody told me he was like 185 now, but I might be wrong. But I could have swore somebody said when they saw him at camp that, and they talked to some other guys with the Blues, and they said it looked like he had gained a little bit of weight. And it's like you and I said, Guy. If he did gain weight, it's going to be muscle. It ain't going to be fat.
Yeah. Well, the ages on this are as February 1st of next year, actually.
Okay.
What they're going to be February 1st of next year.
Okay.
Because it says ages is on February 1st of given season. So I don't know if that weight's been updated or not.
Yeah.
So that's what
because I'm going to tell you right now, when I would start the season, I would always weigh 15 to 20 pounds more, even though I worked out in the summer. But by the time I played my 8th or 10th game, I had lost all that weight.
For me, my concern with Kairu, I love the Kairu signing. I do. I think we needed to get younger. We needed the speed. Kairu has the jets. We know that. My concern still is that line, right? And I got to bring that up again because you have Kairu, O'Reilly, and Saad. And you couldn't have three more different players on a line than what you have here. You have Kairu with all this speed and a goal scorer. You have O'Reilly, who is probably one of the best two-way players in the league. And then you have Saad, who is a net front presence type of guy, a physical guy. And sometimes that doesn't work. And you know, the roles, sometimes you can't be that role. You've got to be able to adjust. And I don't know if when you have a line that is that far off, that they can come together. Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it makes sense, but sometimes those type of lines work because they complement each other. You know, and I was told that is one line that Berube is not full. I'm not going to say he's not sold on it, but he will have no problem switching things up if it doesn't work.
I could see that. They tried Neighbors out on that line during the Columbus game, but that was unfair to Neighbors because that game was a throwaway. They got there, went from the plane to the arena, changed, and went and did warm-ups.
That's hard.
Yeah. Right? Shin, ORR, and Saad. Shin and Saad are almost the same type of player.
Yeah, they are very similar.
Right? To me, that they're almost the same type of player, and that's not a bad line either. Right? We'll continue on a little bit here. Next one, number 26, the Aussie Nathan Walker, Ashley.
I love Walker, so I don't want it to sound bad.
Say again?
I said I love Walker. I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to have to get out. My internet needs to be reset.
Okay, no problem. We'll be back for you. Right?
Okay.
Take you out there for a second. Okay, Ashley will be back. Walker, then. I'll let you go, Lance.
You know, Guy, I keep wanting to really push down on him. And every time I do that, he continues to prove me wrong. And I'm hoping he does prove me wrong. I've always thought he's that guy that can give you a spark and maybe play in 50, 60 games a year. And I hope I'm wrong because like you're always telling me, don't be so hard on him because every time he's on the ice, something good happens. And I can't argue with you about that. He surprises me every time. And I keep telling myself, oh, he's not going to do that again. Or it's going to show up. And that's one guy that I think he could be feast or famine. And I'm hoping he's feast.
Well, I look at him. You know who he reminds me of? And I think you'll get the reference. David Eckstein.
Yes, he's an NHL version of David Eckstein. Yes.
Energizer Bunny. Always out there, always rushing. Yep. When Eckstein walked, he ran to first base. Right? He full of that energy. That's what Walker is. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. He's that. That's what he is, right? He's got that energy. He brings it every game. And he's a guy that you can plug in when you need him. You need Walker to sit in the press box. Walker sits in the press box. You need Walker in the second line or the fourth line. Walker goes to the fourth line. You need Walker in the third line. He goes to the third line. Whatever role you put him in, he's just doing it with a smile. And energy's all there.
It doesn't seem to affect him. If he doesn't play for 2 games and he comes in and plays that next game, you can't tell he's missed 2 games. He's still got that energy. And, a lot of energy and spark guys, they're not what you would call, all-stars. And I wouldn't call him an all-star or a great player. But every team needs a guy like Nathan Walker. He's got energy. He's got a pretty nice shot too, for a guy that's that type of a player.
Yeah, he does. And like I said, I was touting him last year, and I even told you he'll make the team this year. And you were telling me, I don't think he will. I think he'll be a start down below. I had a feeling he was going to make the team.
No, I didn't have any doubts.
I told you so, but I told you so.
I didn't have any doubts in him making the team. I just think of him as more of a 50, 60 game guy. But like I said, every time I say something negative about him, he proves me wrong.
Yeah, Walker never stops. He's short, so he needs to bring it, and he does. Surprise you all the time, go Aussie. No, Kenny, you're right. And I
Yep.
love him. I love him to death, and I have from the beginning. I say that he reminds me of Schwartz. And Matlow says Schwartz was such a good hockey player when he's healthy. And it's true. He does kind of remind you of Schwartz. Chris Shockey says he's a rugby player on skates, and I'll take that. Right?
Here's the thing. I don't think he's as talented as Schwartz, but I will say one thing. I think he works harder than Schwartz, and Schwartz was a pretty hard worker when he was in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nathan Walker is one of those guys that a coach like Berube has to tell his staff, I can't keep him out of the lineup. And that's the type of guy you need.
No, I'm with you. I am with you. And let's see if we got her back. There we go. There she is.
Good.
Okay, what were you saying about Mr. Walker there, Ashley?
I love him to pieces, but he just is going to be one of those players that we need in a pinch. I don't see him staying up for long periods of time.
I do see him staying up, depending. The only person that I think right now that could replace him is Alexandrov, right? But they want him to get some. They want him to get some more experience down in the minors.
Yeah.
But he had a really good camp, and they kept him as long as they could.
Yep.
Right. Okay, moving on to a defenseman. Couple of defensemen next. Number 41, Mr. Robert Bortuzzo. 6'4", 216, right-handed shot, 33 years old. Lance.
I am not a Robert Bortuzzo fan. Is he good on the penalty kill? Yes, but he's getting worse every year. He's slower and slower every year. He seems to take stupid penalties constantly that he doesn't need to be taking. And, to be honest with you, I have him as a 7th, 8th defenseman. He's just not, years ago, I would say he was a top 6 defenseman, but he's just getting to that point in his career where he's played so much and he's been physical a lot, and he's not as good as he was on the penalty kill. And I think most of the time when he's out there, to me, he's a liability.
Yeah, well, okay. Ashley?
I am not as harsh about Bortuzzo. I mean, yes, he's aging, and yes, he's declining. But, I mean, I thought that he played better than I expected last season. He's not afraid to block the shots. He's not afraid to get, physical either. I like him.
Remember the 5-on-3 with no stick.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Like 3 shots, 4 shots.
I feel like his upside is still a lot better than his negative side.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that he's a good. I think where he helps is Mikkola. I think he helps Mikkola out in that pairing to get Mikkola into that top 4, top 2 role. And I think that what Bortuzzo's going to bring, I also think that, and Kenny Grote makes a great point. Well, who do you replace him with? Well, our next defenseman is right now listed at the 7th defenseman, number 43, Cali Rosen. And I'll go ahead and start with this. Cali, to me, I like him. He's out there, but he just, I don't know. I don't feel like he's an AHL player in an NHL uniform. That's what I feel about him. So, lesser of two evils. Right now, I'll take Bortz instead of Rosen. Now, if Rosen and Mikkola switch, I can see that. Mikkola's still young, getting into this, that style of play. Well, Mikkola's 26. I thought it was a little older than that, but younger than that. But, again, Rosen concerns me. Go with you there, Ashley.
I think that Rosen has done exactly what we needed him to do when he was called on. I don't want to see Rosen in there too much because obviously that means that we have injuries. He is not, a top 6 defenseman at all, but he is steady and I'm not concerned when he's in. I'm actually more concerned when Mikkola is in, because Mikkola has a tendency to try and get up in the offensive area more, and then it'll, backfire on him, or he'll play the wrong man. Mikkola's still making those really stupid mistakes.
Yeah, Lance?
I'm not a big Rosen guy. He's there for a role if they need him to come up if somebody's injured, or, if they need him to, somebody needs a rest for a game or so. He's one of those guys that if you play him too much, his weaknesses show up. And like Ashley said, to me, he's an AHL player and a pretty good AHL player, but the difference between the AHL and NHL are night and day. And if he plays 20 games a year, I'm fine with that. But if you've got Cali Rosen playing 60 games a year, you're in big trouble.
No, I'm on board with that. Well, we move to another defenseman, number 47, the second former Boston Bruin and the second former Stanley Cup Boston Bruin, Tori Krug. I don't know where we're at. We'll go with Lance, I guess.
I love Tori Krug. A lot of people don't like him because of his size, but as I've said before, when people say, well, we don't need Perinovich because we got Krug. Well, you know what? Just because Krug is a similar defenseman to Perinovich doesn't mean you can't have two guys like that on different pairings. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's just like somebody saying, well, we've got one guy that's pretty tough and physical. We can't have another tough and physical defenseman. I have nothing but good things to say about Krug. I just wish he would stay healthier. But I'm always been a big Krug fan.
Ashley?
I'm with Lance on this. He's tiny, but he's mighty. I love his feistiness.
Yeah.
I love his defensive play. I just can't stop singing Krug's praises. And I really wish that people would stop saying that, him and Perunovich are the same. I'm with you, Lance.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. They may have the same type of size, but they have different shots.
Yeah,
right?
Totally different players.
Right, they are, and I think that his shot has a lot to do with that. The difference in their shots. For me, if you want to symbol who Krug is and what Krug is, it's him and Robert Thomas in the finals. Right, no helmet, barreling down the ice. Hits Thomas at the blue line and levels him. Full speed. Should have been a charge, but full speed. And it was just, that's who he is, and that's what we're going to get. And for me, I love it. The next player that we're going to talk about is probably the first player on this list that will probably not finish the season on this team. Number 49, Ivan Barbashev. Ashley.
I love Barbie. He's really spurty, like worse than anyone else I've mentioned that on. Like, he'll be really, really offensive, and then instead of it just being a few games that he, kind of goes away, he'll go away for like a quarter of the season.
Yep.
Lance?
Yeah, I like Barbashev. But like Ashley said, he's not the same size and skill set of a player, but he reminds me of a Patrick Berglund. Berglund would score 8 to 10 goals in 12 games, and you're thinking, oh, Patrick Berglund's got it coming, and then he doesn't score a goal for 40 games. And to me, he's that type of a player, and I agree with you. I think he's going to be gone before the trade deadline, or at least the trade deadline. A lot of people are saying the Blues are going to bring him up back, but there's no way with all the players that they need to re-sign that he's coming back. That he's just not. Yeah,
they've got. I think it's when you look at it. I'm not counting Levo and Akari, right? Because they're on 1-year contracts.
Yeah,
but I'm looking at they have 3 UFAs and like 5 RFAs. Well, those 5 RFAs, you have to offer them a certain amount of money.
Yep.
Or they become unrestricted free agents. So, that money right there, that 10%, that's you're locked into that.
Yep.
Right. And then you don't know if somebody's going to want more than that 10% based on if they're arbitration eligible. right? You could be running into a problem with that. So when that comes, look, hey Barbie, come on Barbie, let's go party. Yeah, I love Barbie. I remember the 3 goals the hat trick he scored when his parents were here. The first game his parents ever got to see him watching the NHL, and that was wonderful. But I just don't. That's $2.8 million that you can package with some of the guys in the minors or picks to bring in a defenseman, right? Or to bring in somebody else. You have Scandella. Right now we've got $1.6 million in cap money, and that can actually go up if you send 2 guys, because you got 23 men on the roster. You have 2 guys you can send down. That saves you another $1.5 million. So that's like $3 million. You're looking at $5 million right there that you'll have to possibly bring in a defenseman if you feel you need a defenseman. And I think Barbie is going to command 4 to 5 on the open market. Maybe, I think 4 to 5. If he comes under 4, I'd be surprised, but I think he could command that, and we just don't have the money for it. And I just think there's a better way to use him, and you use him by bringing in someone, especially if this is a solid ass team, to go forward. Right? Okay. So from Barbashev, we move into the big, probably the most, this is the player that's going to determine our season. And I think you all know who it is. It is number 50. The man, the myth, the legend, Jordan Bennington. I know how I feel on this. I don't want to go first, but I should go first. But I'll let Mr. Goalie go first.
Jordan Bennington, when he's on, he's one of the best goalies in the league. And a lot of people don't realize last year when they were on to him, he was going through some issues. He was hurt, and he got COVID and stuff. And like I've told people before, that say, well, I had COVID and I was fine in a week. Well, are you a professional athlete? Are you a guy that's got to go out and you're going to burn 8,000 to 10,000 calories a night playing a sport? When he got healthy towards the end of the year, he was one of the best goaltenders in the league. And I'll argue with anybody about that. The Blues will go as Jordan Bennington goes. We've seen that in the past, and a lot of teams are that way. The Blues defense is good, and Jordan Bennington, all he needs to do is make the saves he's supposed to make and make some of those spectacular ones that we're used to seeing him make every game. And he's that type of guy that you can just rely on and just ride him into the playoffs and ride him through the season. And I expect him to play like the Jordan Bennington in the last couple months of the season, not the Jordan Bennington that started last season.
Ash?
I was okay with the Jordan Bennington that started last season. It was that middle that he got bad. But again, COVID and what have you. I have been on the Jordan Bennington train for quite some time. I've fought Guy most of last season defending Bennington. So everybody should know that I love Bennington, and I expect that he is going to have an excellent season.
Yep.
I am on. So this is the first player that I'm looking at that's going to that could have a trophy season, right? I can honestly see Bennington being in that Venza level. And the reason I say that, and look, I know it's preseason, but I read the article that Jeremy Rutherford wrote on him. Really good article. He took this offseason and found something. He's found a piece. He's found an understanding. He's found that thing that you need to find to be in that zone. And I think that he can get it. He gave up 2 goals. Goals in over 2 games, less than 1.0 goals against average during the preseason. Yes, I get it's preseason, but he stopped 63 of 65 shots, a .960 save percentage. This guy can be in the 940s. I absolutely believe that, and I think he can be a 2.22 to 2.4 or less goaltender, and I think he can be in that Devenza level.
Yeah, I really do. I see him more of a 918 save percentage, 920, and maybe a 2.53, 2.48 goals against, and the guy that makes those big saves, which is the most important. And I've talked to people down there, and not that he's not focused, but they are telling me that Jordan Binnington's been really focused. And unlike some goalies, when people start bashing him, that just makes him better. It makes him just want to just prove everybody wrong. And I love that about a goaltender. That's what you need. When things are down and everybody, in public is onto you, not that he pays a bunch of attention to you, but I honestly think he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Oh, no, I do too. And I think that's a huge chip that he's going to do. Benny isn't going to beat Igor, and I'm a diehard Blues fan, but Igor is a generational player, and I think it will be on the top 10 for sure this year. I'm just looking at what I see right now with Binnington, and I just feel that he's got it. He's got it. He's figured it out. And yes, Ashley, I was on Binnington early. I went off him, but got back on him in January when he had that rough patch. However, once I started realizing that I think it was COVID, because in March I was back on board with him. And then in the playoffs, I thought they waited a game too long to put him in. I thought after that first game that Husso lost, especially the way he lost it, they should have brought Binnington. But when Binnington was in net.
And what did we see, Guy, in Minnesota? Minnesota, and I hate to keep saying this, but I've talked to people up there. They said that just ruined it because the players had to play against a different type of goalie. They had to look out that he was going to handle the puck. What's he going to do with the puck? How quickly is he going to get it out? And it totally changed the way Minnesota played against the Blues. And if he hadn't come in, I don't care how good Husso would have played. I think the Blues would have lost that series. And when a goalie comes in and it changes the way the other team plays, that's telling you something about that goalie.
No, I'm with you. I really think that this is good. Okay, we're going to move on. Number 52, the new signee. This is our second Boston Bruin, Noel Acciari. Ashley?
I don't have anything negative to say about him. I just kind of see him as Bozak's replacement.
Lance?
Yeah, that's about how I see him. He's a Bozak type of player, and he's a fourth line player, and he is what he is. Am I upset they got him? No. Am I super excited about it? No. He's just that guy that's going to give you those fourth line minutes, and when he's in there, he's going to play pretty well. But it doesn't super excite me.
Right.
Yeah,
I like Acciari. I like him on that fourth line, but at the same time, I don't know if he's physical enough for a fourth line, and that's just a slight concern. I don't think he finishes the season with the Blues, to be honest. I think there's other options out there. He's 750, but I think there could be other options out there, or he could be somebody that gets packaged, right? At least that's kind of the way I feel about it. Moving on, another defenseman. Actually, we're going to have three of the next four be defensemen. This is probably the biggest question mark on the team this year. Oh, by the way, Jason Nichols says, who is that? Noel Acciari was the guy that Bozak tripped in Game 5 of the finals when Boston stopped and the Blues took that 2-0 lead. So that's who Acciari is. Number 55, Colt 55, Colton Parayko. Lance, I'm going to let you start this one.
Another guy that had back problems last year, and if you've never had back problems, especially if you're a guy, tall like him and I, over 6'4", you can't play. It affects you. It hurts you. You can't extend your arms. You can't skate as fast. You can't go in and hit people and move people out of the way as much. It totally affects the way you play the game. And people keep expecting him to be Chris Pronger. He's not Chris Pronger. He'll never be Chris Pronger. Only Chris Pronger is Chris Pronger. Blues fans accept him as he is, a big defenseman that can be physical when he needs to be, but he's more of an offensive defenseman with a wicked shot that everybody wishes he would shoot more, including Blues management. They want this guy to shoot more. He's just that type of a player that he's got a good shot, but he likes to find other options. And if I got anything that I want him to do better this year, and the only thing is shoot the puck more, and that's it. Otherwise, I am perfectly fine, and I love Colton Parayko.
Robert Morton says, my gosh, back problems, it affects everything you do, speaking from experience. Yeah, yep. and I'm on board with you on that, Lance, that he did have the back problems, and that could be done. But if he's healthy and he can fire that puck, and we saw a little bit of it in preseason, he took some slap shots early in preseason. If he can do that.
And if you've ever heard somebody say he's got a heavy shot, as a goaltender, I can't really explain that. But there's a difference. Some guys shoot the puck, and yeah, it's 98 miles an hour, 95 miles an hour, but his puck just goalies have said it feels heavy, and it's not a fun shot to stop.
Yeah. To me, a guy with when you see a guy that has a heavy shot, the puck seems to always be a saucer, right? It's always, when they fire that puck, it's not doing this. It's a flying saucer. It's not fluttering. Yeah, it's not fluttering. Yeah. Right? It's got that spin on it that that spin keeps it going. It's not giving that. No problem, Ashley. If you come back, you come back if you can.
Yep. Try to come back.
Right? It's got that hard. My thing with Colton is be more physical on the puck, shoot the puck, and play your game. That's what I want. Play your game. Players are scared of that shot, and he needs to use it for Pete's sake. I agree, Jason. I really do. I want to see him get out there and really use that shot. Absolutely. Moving on. Now, this is the next player that I think could be in line for a trophy this year. Right? Number 63, Jake Neighbors. Let you start there, Lance, man.
I like everything Jake Neighbors does, and people may disagree with me. I wish he would have started the year in Springfield. It's not that he doesn't deserve to be up here. I just think that he's got a few things to work on. When I watched him in the preseason, and I was at 2 games, the guy is highly skilled young player. And he's in the same ilk as Thomas and Kairu, and he could be just as good as those guys. I watched him a few times in preseason, and not every time. It didn't happen every time. But there was a few times where there were guys that were a little bigger than him, and he got pushed off the puck really easy. And, as a player with his age, each time you go up to the next level, it's a little bit of an adjustment. And I think once he makes that adjustment, he'll get used to that. And not that he's terrible at it. I just think that might be something he needs to work on. But I do expect some pretty good things from him as a rookie. And like Guy says, if everything goes well for him, he could be in the Calder discussion.
I absolutely think that he can be in the Calder discussion. He's going to start on that third line. He may not be on that third line. He has more talent than that third line.
Oh, and he's not third line talent.
The sod issue, right? If you put Neighbors, and I know, so you call it the first line, but we really don't have a first line. But if you put Neighbors with Kairu and O'Reilly, you're putting 2 very fast guys with a very good puck distributor, right? And Neighbors is an in front of the net guy. He will get in front of the net. He's at 5'11", 201. He plays like he's 6'2", 250, 220, and that's what can really help the Blues and help his stock and get him into that discussion.
Yeah, I saw him up close, and I'm going to tell you right now, he's built like a block. Like you said, he's not 6'2", but with his height and the way he's built, he is built like a block.
Yeah, I met him last year. He's a good, smart kid, and I think he's going to do very well. Okay, really moving on. Ashley's going to call it a night, so it's just you and me for the rest of this. Moving on. This is one that could sneak into some trophy talk. Number 72, Justin Falk.
I love Justin Falk, and you know that I do. And you and I both saw when he came here, everybody was down on him. Well, we missed Pietrangelo too much. I'm going to tell you right now, if I knew what Pietrangelo was doing in Vegas, and I've seen what Falk will do here, I would much rather have Justin Falk than Alex Pietrangelo. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. He's a more all-around better player. I think he's more physical than Pietrangelo is at times. And I've just got nothing good to say about him. He fits in Berube's system perfectly. He picked it up quickly. It took him a little bit, but it takes a lot of defense. He played in a totally different system in Carolina, totally different system. And Guy, you and I both said, once he picks it up, he's just going to go off. And if it's like I've said before, if anybody else could wear the C on that team, Justin Falk would be one of the guys I would want wearing that C.
I can see that. I think Falk. Now, look, I know when you talk about best defenseman, it's been lately more of an offensive defenseman.
Yeah.
However, Falk could, and he has the style of game, especially with the power play, have some numbers that could get him into that Norris talk, right? I think that he's starting to play that style of game that, again, I'm not saying he's going to win the Norris, but I'm saying he could start getting into that talk. He should have been, he could have been in that talk, especially he was like a plus 40 something last year.
Oh, he was a huge plus. And I'm going to tell you another thing people don't appreciate about him is his shot. Is it the hardest? No, but he shoots when he should shoot, and he passes when he should be passing. And he's your typical, he's our number one defenseman. He is a quarterback type of defenseman, and he's very good. He has great vision. He knows where everybody is on the ice. And when they got him, I was pretty happy about it.
Yeah, no, I was too. I thought it was a great trade. The only thing that with Falk that kind of I didn't like with Falk when he first came here, the day the Blues got their rings, right? He didn't attend that. And
no, he didn't.
And I felt when he talked about that, I was like, I get it that you're not getting one, but you're not, this is your team. Go there and celebrate with them. Let them know that you understand, hey, you guys did great. And I know I'm replacing somebody, but I'm here to be that guy. I'm here to show that. That's the only thing. I really felt like he should have been at that dinner.
I can tell you why he didn't. Why he didn't was he wanted the focus to be on the players that got it.
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah,
right?
He wanted, and I appreciate that, but like you said, I can also see why people would say, "Hey, you're on the team now. Be there to support these guys from what they did last year."
Yeah.
But I also accept what he said. It's their ring. I want them to enjoy it, and I understand why some people have a problem with it. It's just that's the way he is.
I didn't say I have a problem with it. But I think it contributed.
No, I didn't say you. I didn't say you.
I think it contributed a little bit to
the fans.
It contributed a little bit to him having trouble figuring the system out.
Could be.
Right? Falk just needs to turn 2 steps sooner. He sometimes waits till the guy is on him before he transitions and gets beat. That's a fair point.
It does happen.
Fair point. Right? Okay, moving on. Number 77, the Finn. Mikko Mikkola.
People are onto this guy. People want him traded. People don't like him, and I don't understand it. He's one of those guys that took a little bit longer for him to get here from the AHL, and some guys mature a little bit slower. He's the type of defenseman, and I said it last year, the more he plays in the NHL, the better he's going to get. And he's not Pronger, but he has that edge. He can be physical, and he can rough people up, but he's got a decent shot, too, for a defenseman. He's good enough offensively to make you worry about him. But, he's that guy that I like. I really like him a lot.
Yeah, no, I got turned on to Mikkola from somebody else. And the more I watched him, the more I realized that this person was right. I like Mikkola. I like what his game brings. I think Mikkola can be a top 4, top 2 defenseman. Now, he had to play in that role, and he was outmatched a little bit. And not age-wise, but experience-wise.
Yeah.
Chris Shockey says that he's closer to Pronger than Colton is. I think I
Yeah,
would
he
be
is.
with there.
And I'll tell you
Bill
one thing,
Schnurr,
guys.
I like Nico, good defenseman.
Yeah.
Often takes longer to mature. And I get that.
Yeah. It's like I've told you guys before from playing the game. The hardest position to go from the college or the AHL or juniors to the NHL is defenseman. It is the hardest position. And I'm going to tell you one thing, Berube loves him. And if he wasn't good defensively, Berube wouldn't love him.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Okay, so we've got our final three, and our final three are the big three.
Yep.
At least in my mind. We'll start with number 89, the 27-year-old Russian that we got from the New York Rangers, Mr. Pavel Buchnevich.
I love Buchnevich. He surprised me. I watched him a lot with the Rangers, but I actually think he fits in better in this blue system than he did in New York. And I wasn't expecting as much from him. And I'll be honest with you, I just wasn't. But he's just really, really impressed me. There's never a game where I've had to say, like I said earlier, did Buchnevich play this game? I've never watched him play for the Blues and said that about him. I love the guy. He works hard. He's got chemistry with his line mates, and I can't say anything bad about him, really.
Less goals, more shots and assists, and that's possible.
Yeah.
So the one thing that Berube said about this line was, and it wasn't just this line, it was also when Barbashev came up on this line.
Mm-hmm.
He said you had a passer, a shooter, and a rebounder, right? Passer, Thomas, or Barbashev. The shooter, Tarasenko. The rebounder, Buchnevich. He got in front of the net. Tarasenko has an accurate shot. Tarasenko could get his shot in low off the pads, and there's Buchnevich to tap it in. That's what we need, and that's the thing that I see happening. Bush is clicking with his line mates. My question is, will he continue to play with them? Yeah, I don't see them changing that line. No. I can't see him changing that line. Buchnevich is coming here.
If there's an injury, he may be moved up or down, but I don't see it changing unless something drastically happens. That line clicks so well.
If O'Reilly would get injured, I could see Thomas going up and Barbashev taking Thomas's spot.
Could be, yeah, could be.
Right, because we already know that Russian line works.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we know that line works. We know that the Spetsnaz line works. Okay, the next is a conundrum. You all love him. You all think he is the greatest thing since sliced frickin' bread. He's the captain, number 90, Brian O'Reilly. And I think there's a good chance he could not finish the season with this team, but I'm going to let you go.
I fully agree with you because, I don't see the Blues keeping him and Tarasenko. And like you and I have talked about before, goal scorers may score 35 goals one year, 25 the next, 30 the next, but goal scorers don't forget how to score. And that's what Tarasenko does. I love Ryan O'Reilly for what he brings to this team. Now, if it comes down to where somebody says you can give Ryan O'Reilly 5.5 or 6 million, but you got to pay Tank 9.5, 10 million, I'm probably going to have to go with O'Reilly. But if it's apples and apples, I'm probably going to want to do Tarasenko. O'Reilly is that leader. The only thing that I don't like is once he got that C, his scoring went down. And people have told me that he feels like he's got to set more of an example and try to play a perfect game for the other players and for the young guys. And, it's you can tell it's affected him a little bit. Not that he's a bad player. By no means is he a bad player. He is one of the best two-way players in the league. And I'll argue he's in the top 3 of the best two-way players in the league. And I'll argue with anybody about it. But I'm with you, Guy. I think there's a good possibility, and it may be this way. We may have another Keith Tkachuk situation where the Blues trade him and then resign him at the beginning of in free agency.
Yeah, well, see, yeah, and Chris Shockey says Ryan will have 4 to 5 more goals. He said COVID messed him up mentally, and that's possible.
Yeah,
I could see that. My thing with O'Reilly is, and it comes down to simply this: it has nothing to do with this play. It has nothing to do with that. He doesn't have the no trade clause.
No, he doesn't.
Nothing stopping Doug Armstrong
Yep.
from picking up the phone and saying Ryan O'Reilly's available, who wants him?
Mm-hmm.
You gave up 5 pieces for Ryan O'Reilly. Even now, he's still worth 4 pieces, maybe 5, depending on where you're at. He can bring you that. If he could bring that, and you're looking at, the money you got to pay next year, and you can't get a contract done at the right money, I'm all for it. The only way I don't do it is this team is in first, and I mean solidly in first.
Yeah.
Right? Where you think come February, this is a cup run. Right? That's the only way that I don't do that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you something. Like you said, if a team has a number 1 or number 2 center go down, and they're going to be a competing team, and they know the Blues might shop O'Reilly, they're going to get a call, and they're going to give a lot for a number 1 or number 2 center to help them continue to win that cup. If the Blues are 3rd and 4th in the league, that's going to be even a bigger option.
Yeah, right. I absolutely agree with you. Okay, our last guy, and last but definitely, absolutely, definitely not least. This is by far the most talked about player, the one that has the most opinions and how people feel about him, left, right, and center. And it goes, it's either you love him or you hate him. Nothing in between. Number 91, the Russian Rocket, Vladimir Tereshchenko. Okay, Lancer.
First of all, I'd like to say I want people to shut up about him not being defensive and how he doesn't play defense and how he's lazy. If you really watch him, he's another one of those guys that's big, and he may look like he's slow, and he may look like he's doing this and that. He has improved his defensive game 1,000% over the last 3 or 4 years. He's gotten much better at it. And if you keep saying he's not, you're not watching Vladimir Tereshchenko during the game. You're just not. And he's become more of a two-way player than he ever has before. He had his biggest year in goals, last year, or points. And his biggest year in points. A lot of people are saying he can't be as good as he was last year. Well, I think he's going to be better because he's at a point in his career where if the Blues want to keep him and re-sign him, great. If they don't want to, he'll go somewhere else. But right now he's happy, that there's none of all this talk with everybody, unless a certain person asks him, what do you feel about, being traded? I can't say a good enough things about him. He's a typical scorer, but he has really upped his defensive game, and that's what has impressed me the most about him the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And, everyone's agreeing that he is a two-way player and a leader. He is, I still, to me, you look at last season and you want to know where that season, the defining moment of the season, right? And every season has one. Like I look at 2019 and you look at that season and what is the defining moment? And a lot of people point to the Bennington shutout in Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. Right? Philly was a good team that year. Mm-hmm. But for me, it wasn't that. For me, the defining moment was the 1-0 overtime win against Tampa, in Tampa, right at the beginning of the 11-game running streak. Right? That was a defining moment of that season. You knew right then and there that this team could play with anybody. Right? You knew right then and there that this team could, and they continued to show it. For me, last year, the defining moment of last season was Vladimir Tereshchenko during a timeout, very loudly, getting between Thomas and Berube, telling Berube, we don't do that. We don't talk. We don't do that. We don't do that out here. Not here. He stood up for Thomas, and the mentality of that team changed. It changed, and that's what he can do, and that's what he can bring. And yes, I think he can have a 100-point season. I really do. I think he can have 40 to 45 goals. I think he can be in Hart Trophy talk. He is that guy. He can be in Hart Trophy talk. He could be in Lady Bing talk. I mean, he's that guy. Really is. And I'm all for what he does. Now, look, I understand the business of the game. I get it. Understand it completely. But when it comes down to it, if he is happy, if that man is happy, and he likes living in St. Louis, why is he going to go anywhere? Why? You know, you got a ring, you want another ring, you're going to keep doing that. You're on a team right now that can get you a chance at a ring almost every season.
He's on a team right now.
Next year, are teams that can't do that.
Yeah. He's on a team right now that he can look at it and go, man, next year we're going to be a totally different team. We're going to have 7 different guys and we're going to have to start over. And he's on a team that has a general manager. And I know I've been hard on Armstrong, you know, at least 4 or 5 years ago, I was hard on him, but he's on a team with a GM that does everything he can to win, an owner that will pay up to the cap every single year. And he knows, he looks at their commitment to Thomas, their commitment to Kairu. He knows they want to build something long-term. And, you know, if he goes somewhere else, I'll be happy for him and I'll cheer for him no matter where he goes. But, you know, I think he's comfortable here. He's happy here.
Right. He's taken a few guys to his home and helped them. Yeah, he has. He's been a solid leader. He's scored 40 goals before, and I think he can do it again.
Yep.
Absolutely think he can do it again. He is a strong player. He understands the game, and that's important. That's important. The fact that he does understand the game. And not only that, Jim Thomas, and I like Jim Thomas. I'm a friend of Jim's, and Jim, you know, his job. We get on Jim for not asking the hard questions, and you know what? He asked a hard question. Right timing, maybe not, but he asked a hard question. No problem, Lance.
I'll be right back in a minute.
This. Okay. He asked a hard question, and that's just is what it is. And Tarasenko got a little upset. Okay, but you know what? Go out there and do what you got to do. And I think he will. I really, really do. Well, everybody, that is our look at all the players. I hope you enjoyed that. When Lance gets back, we'll talk about the team as a whole. Tomorrow, 8:00 Central Standard Time, we'll be back. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. Right now, Colorado and Chicago are 0-0 with 13:03 to go in the first. Chicago's look better than thought about. Vladdy trying to stay focused. I agree. I think, you know, the only thing with Vladdy that kind of sort of concerned me was Shin's wedding. The fact that him and Barbashev didn't go, but there might have been other things with that. It could have been, you know, so even that, I think with the Russians, it could have been a visa thing, right? So him not going to that, it concerned me a little bit, but, you know, we don't completely know. It could have been a visa thing because, you know, most of the Russians went to Florida.
Yeah, and you know, it could have been a thing, or maybe he had something else to do with his family. We don't know.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm, again, small concern. Okay, Lance, hey, everybody, so just remember, Saturday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, an hour before puck drop, we will be live. We will do our preview of the season, of the game. We'll talk about what we think. We'll get into it. We'll have a fun 1-hour show. But remember, there are no longer 4 shows on game days. It's one show, right? One show. The show will continue running, the event, right? That's the way Facebook does it, and YouTube. It will continue running. And then here's the thing. During the show, during the game, if something comes up, if you see something you want us to talk about, Type it in. Type it in. Let us know. You're going to drive the show this year, right? This isn't us talking and waiting for you guys to come on. You're already there. You can drive the show. I saw this. Why this? Why that? And that will give us what to talk about for the 18 minutes and not missing you at the end of the 18 minutes because it took 5 minutes for you to get on or whatever. So you're going to be able to get right in, drive the show, talk to us, and we'll talk to you. And, I'm not sure about guests right now. I think I'm going to keep it. More Lance and Ashley for now, maybe a few others, but I'm going to, pay more attention to us and to you guys. And that's what we're going to do. And I want to make this important. If I bring guests on, it's probably going to be off days.
Yeah. And guys, real quick, if you see something you think, well, Guy and Lance will talk about that, or Guy and Ashley will talk about it. We do watch the game closely, but there are times where we're so caught up in another play or something that happens, we might forget. So even if you think the question is stupid, there's no stupid question.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, like I said, you're going to drive the show, not me. You're going to drive the show. Your questions, your comments, your things will drive the show. That's what's going to make the intermissions and the post game better. And it's going to make people want to stay around for the post game, right? You drive the show. Aaron, that's what's important. I want you guys to drive the show. And not only that, I'm not spamming groups. Now, what I am looking for, and we'll start talking about this more, I'm trying to find out. I think there's a way that I can create a list that I can invite you to the show each day, right? So you get that reminder. When I post the show, you'll get an invite and you can put a reminder up for the show.
There
right.
Is.
And I'm going to try and start getting shows a couple of days ahead of time. Right. Trying to do that. I can actually go up to 7 days. I'm going to look at the best way to do it in StreamYard so I can have, the show set up and set up like that. Got to check the schedule and things like that. But we'll do that tomorrow. You know what we're going to talk about tomorrow? We're going to talk about situational hockey tomorrow there, Lance. Let's talk about 5-on-5. Let's talk about 4-on-4. Let's talk about 3-on-3 overtime. Let's talk about the penalty kill. Let's talk about the power play. Let's talk situational hockey tomorrow. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. I think that'll be a fun conversation. This is, and you know what? I love a stat. I call overall special teams, and it's net power play plus net penalty kill. And the Blues were tied for the best team in the league last year. I think they can be back there, if not better.
But Guy, their defense was terrible.
Yeah. During preseason, they were at 27% on the power play. They were 96% or 92% on the penalty kill. That's saying something. That is saying something. This is a team that knows how to play special teams. They have figured it out.
And you know what I love?
We'll talk about that tomorrow.
I real quick, I love the fact nobody in the national media is really talking about the Blues. They're all putting them in 4th place or 5th place, or they're not going to make the playoffs. I love that going into a season when nobody's really talking about the Blues.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's guys out there that have them not making the playoffs and things like that, and thinking they're going to have a bad season. I can't see it. I think what the logarithm misses is how important team chemistry is, right? How important team chemistry is.
Yeah,
and PK was in the Columbus game.
Yeah, and unlike the Winnipeg Jets locker room, the Blues locker room is pretty good. It's pretty good right now.
This is, and that team chemistry says a lot about. I mean, there's things that you can't explain. There are things that don't matter in the numbers. Right. And that it brings players to play better. And we have that. We have that more than any other locker room does.
It makes players want other players to succeed and not just themselves.
Yep, absolutely. And I can't wait. It'll be a fun show tomorrow. We're 2 days away. 2 days. Yep. We got 2 more shows, and then we're doing the pregame show. Right. Yep. I look forward to talking to you tomorrow, Lance, if you can.
I'll try.
Good show tonight. 8:00 Central Standard Time. Oh my God, you got any of the Canadian game tonight and the announcers? No, I did not get to see it. I was watching TNT. I did not get to see it. I'll have to.
I got it recorded, so I'll watch it in a little bit.
Yeah. Right. I'll try and watch it tonight. I might watch it tonight. It's on. Excuse me. It's on center ice.
Yep.
So, you know what, Lance? Thank you, man. Everyone, have a great night. This is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, who, along with Lance, does drop the Scott. We're bleeding blue with you. Have a great night. Aloha. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Hawaii Blues fan, we're bleeding blue with you. Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues! Let's go Blues!
Yeah, when they're up, your mic is muted.
Yeah, I know. I was mouthing it. I wasn't saying it.
Okay, guys, have a great night. See you tomorrow.